Fardad, welcome to the Feed podcast. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming to see me today, Michael.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. What a wonderful building. I've just done the tour, an amazing facility, and I'm so excited to be able to tell your story. So thank you for your hospitality. We're here in the offices, and I met the family, and this has just been a great visit for me.
Yeah, well, that's what we are. We're a family company, and I like to tell people that we're a personal company and a caring company, and we're in the personal care industry. So
it all fits together.
It sure does.
What I'm really looking forward to in this interview is, so far I've been interviewing for the Feed, kind of startups or younger companies, but, your organization, your company's been around, 40 plus years. So
yeah, almost 43 years now.
So, it's a great story of longevity, but also reinvention, I'm sure, right? Just because you've been around 4 decades doesn't mean you're going to win, right? You have to continue to reinvent
for sure.
How you go to market.
Probably.
And resilience, agility, all those things pretty important.
For sure.
Tell me about yourself. It's a family business, so I guess I knew how you found your way to the business, but not everybody wants to work in the business. What's your passion and what's your journey?
So I guess I would say that because it's been a family business ever since I was 10 years old, and my sister would have been 8 years old. We've been making the products at home with my mom, packaging the products, watching Scooby-Doo and Happy Days.
Fantastic.
And, working with my dad, with my mom. But then obviously it's a lot different now. I play a role of, I guess I would say, one of the directors of the company. And as with all small businesses, everybody wears multiple hats. I wear many multiple hats, mostly oversee operations and sales and marketing. My sister oversees things like HR, legal, business strategy. And my mom, who's the CFO, the controller.
I just met her, a wonderful woman.
Yes.
We call her the matriarch of the business. I mean,
she
really
totally
founded
is the
business, right?
matriarch of the business. She's the founder. And we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. She also wears multiple hats. She's still involved, at least 3-4 days a week at 80 years old, and loves to get involved.
Right.
So.
Well, keeping that kind of wisdom and history and context in the business, I think it's a big differentiator for you, I'm sure. Let's talk about the genesis of the business. Parissa, did I read that it's a soft angel face or something in Persian? That's the connection, right?
So Parissa means angelic. The first product actually that we started making out of the home was Persian cold wax, and it was based on a very old traditional recipe back in Iran. And my mom really started the company out of desperation. We're new immigrants to Canada. We came here in 1981. The economy was in a terrible situation. Interest rates were, I think, 18 or 21%. And my parents were looking for economic opportunity, and there just wasn't any. And my mom thought about, making even sweets. My dad was considering driving a taxi. They were looking for anything that they could do.
And your mom was an engineer too, right?
Yes, correct.
Like very highly educated. So
yes, first female chemical engineer graduating from University of Edinburgh in Scotland.
Wow,
yes, fantastic. Very accomplished person. Great. Had a high level of education and held various high positions in the Iranian National Petrochemical Company. And then when we came here, economic situation was such that neither one of them could find employment. And so basically the business started out of desperation. My mom started to make this sugar-based product in the kitchen. My dad would cut the Appalachian strips. My sister and I would package the products. Yeah. And then they would take it from store to store. And we would do community markets. We would do Christmas markets. Any opportunity that we had to show people how to use the product, we would do it.
I often hear that story. Even today, new Canadians, create a job, so to speak, as opposed to find one. They create, very entrepreneurial in some ways, entrepreneurial by DNA, but also by necessity, or by I'm just going to go create a job, or I found something maybe from where I came from that is missing here in Canada, and that's a big opportunity too. And it was quite a bit that way.
Right? She went into stores and she saw that there actually wasn't any natural hair removal products. Most of the products at that time were chemical-based lotions or creams. There was never a sugar-based natural hair removal product at the time. And that was a product that she was familiar with back at home. My dad actually also operated a salon where they used a similar product.
Yeah.
And therefore that was just seemed like something to do. And my mom, made it in the kitchen. We packaged it, and then they took it store to store. And in one of the stores, she ended up meeting a sales rep. And then from there, we just started to sell into more stores and more stores.
The first yes starts to catch on. Other people see it, and
exactly.
that was 43 years later. You're
43 years
you're
later.
at Loblaw, Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yes.
It's fantastic. It's such a great,
Globally
such a great
recognized.
story. Globally,
So yes.
that's a good segue. And tell me a little bit more about the business. So I see.
Sure.
Again, I've done the tour, and I see your packaging. You've got a number of different products, and you're a global company, right?
Yes, correct.
You're based here in Vancouver, but you're a global
Vancouver,
oriented
BC,
company.
but our next, obviously, largest market is the U.S., but we also have distribution in Europe, in China, small distribution in Australia, and still trying to expand, obviously. Need to look at new export markets these days.
It's a bit dynamic environment, if we could say charitably, right?
Exactly, yes.
Now, what are the kind of the core, I just get a sense of you as we walk around and you talk about the reason you built this building and the family lives here. What would you say the core, the animating principles of you and the leadership team are? I see how you interact with the employees, so I get a pretty good sense of it. But how would you describe it?
Sure. I guess I would start by talking about it a little bit formally. So as a brand, we do smooth skin, clean, simple. So that really speaks to the type of ingredients that we use, our natural heritage, simple ingredients, simple formulations. But also we really have a set of core values, which I would say the most important one is ethics. We call them the 5 E's, and we've got empowerment, ethics, education, elegance, and environment. But really, I'd say that the most important one would be ethics. Yeah, that's really the main driving principle, and everything flows from there.
Over the course of 40 years, some things have obviously worked very, very well, and some things have worked less well. I mean, if you reflect back on, we're not really looking for 40 years of lessons, but when we think about certain intersecting points or certain pivot points, can you think of those for the business where you turned left or right, or you said, when you what is the old Yogi Bear, when you come to a fork in the road, take it kind of decisions?
Yeah. So, I mean, even in the last year, there's just been so much pivoting that's been going on. One of the biggest lessons that we learned has been that we tried to build our business store by store. So we started store by store, really meeting the customer's needs. And during that time, we didn't have a lot of marketing money. So we were interacting with customers at the store level. So trying to deliver what the customer wanted, whether that customer was like Loblaws or if it was like, Judy in North Van, that meeting the customer needs was very, very important. And so we started to build the business store by store. But when we started to expand, one of the big lessons for us was that, hey, you know what? We're a smaller company. We should focus on smaller chains. Like smaller chains in the U.S. was an obvious one, because a small chain in the U.S. was, 40 or 50 stores. So you would get, you would pursue the account, you would get the listing, you would work real hard, you would get that account, but then all of a sudden there would be like major consolidation in the industry. So you would have done this work, and then you would end up losing that account, even though the sales were great. So one of the big lessons was that, you could do everything right, and there's things in business that impact you that are just beyond your control.
Sure.
And you need
We've learned a lot about that this year.
Yes, definitely. And you need to be able to pick up the pieces and just move forward.
Right.
So that's, I'd say that that's been one of the biggest lessons, has been that you can do everything right, but there's many things that happen that are really beyond your control.
I want to pick up on, your customer. You've got a customer, the retailer, and you've got product experts and category experts in that retailer, but then you've got the consumer. So I'm kind of curious how those two things come together in terms of new product development and how you develop products. Like, what's the next product? What does innovation look like here, and what's the product road look like, and how do you figure that out?
So one of the things that we've kept I would say, consistent since we started was the intimacy that we share with our core customer. So like I mentioned, when we were kids, my sister and I would be either at community fairs with my mom, or even later it would be like in-store demos, or even today with trade shows. We're interacting with the core customer. We speak to the real user of the products. And so historically, we would do that. And so we would have a much more intimate understanding of what the customer wanted and their experience with waxes in particular, which is our core category. From there, because we were having this intimate relationship, then we could do product development that was actually quite a bit more forward-looking and more really met the needs of the customer.
It's very connected to the customer, right? Like it's interesting when I think about, when I talk to larger CPG companies, they spend tens of millions of dollars to do what you do, which is get close and connected and get that genuine feedback from the customers. So two ways to do it: spend millions and millions of dollars, or do it the way, be right present with the customer.
And even today, everybody that we hire, and in particular our marketing department, everybody who's in marketing does customer care. So it used to be, via the phone, but now it's mostly through electronic means, whether it's through social media where we're getting the feedback, or, through our websites, or if we're getting feedback through email or even chat now through the website too. You're interacting with the customer, you find out the pain points, and then you're developing the products and new innovations from there. In our category specifically, the products function like they do with a tweezer. It grabs the hair, removes it from the root. So really, in terms of innovation, particularly with our competitors as well, people will use colors, fragrances, sometimes a little bit of a different format. But where I found we've been most successful in innovation has been really looking at how do you educate the consumer, the customer, and really how you can make sure that they gain success. And so that's where that interaction with our customers and having that intimacy is super important. Still to this day, there's nothing more than I enjoy speaking to customers about their experience, whether it's been a negative one or a positive.
Sure.
Everything is so abstract in our lives these days. And this is something that it's material. There's a real person who's purchased your product, and you're either, chatting with them or speaking to them. And it really kind of ties everything together. It gives the business a lot more purpose, I would say.
Let's talk about how you came to be at the Shoppers Drug Mart and your journey to kind of retail. And we were talking off mic about the small supplier program as an accelerator in all kinds of different ways. So I think you're both on the shelves of Shoppers Drug Mart, and I think Loblaw stores as well. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So how did that first come about, and what's been your experience of meeting the people and their expertise and all those things?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before too, we really built the business one store at a time. And, my mom would be going into the stores, pitching the products, or we'd be doing product demos and really pitching the products. And really going from store to store, meeting either sales reps or even then getting a call from, Shoppers head office when more of the kind of centralized procurement started to happen. Being like, hey, you guys should be in the DC and not be at the store level, only at the store level. And so really the business grew organically that way. And I would say we had the good fortune of growing with the business, with the entire industry. So we kind of scaled as the business was consolidating. The regulatory framework changed. I mean, there didn't used to be UPCs when we came into the market.
Right.
There wasn't EDI, so these were all new technologies that we really, basically because we were dealing with the best of the best, really our trading partners like Shoppers, like London Drugs, like Loblaws, and even some of the US stores as well. They were really driving the industry forward. And we were like, these are our customers, these are our trading partners. We need to be able to meet their demands. And so we were fortunate to be, I think, enter the market at a time where we were able to grow. And today, like I said, we've grown. We're global, but it's a very small category.
Right.
And we've got some sizable market share. So if you look at just waxes, we've got something like 15% market share, which is quite surprising. We've tried to stay very specialized, specifically because we feel that that's where we can provide the most value. And we've tried to stay,
Have you ever steered away from that? Have you ever said, there's more places on the shelf we should go, and are we missing
Sure.
opportunities because we seem to have it figured out how to get stuff in a warehouse. We got great relationships with a Shoppers Drug Mart. Maybe we should talk about other things. That's got to be a bit of a temptation for the business.
Well,
not.
Yes. Well, look, you always got to look for different sources of revenue. I'd be lying if I said that you could just
keep doing what you're doing,
especially with just, let's say, one SKU.
Yes.
You just get lost on the product shelf. But one of the things that we've done is we've leveraged our expertise in waxes and in natural health products by expanding our manufacturing. So there is a small level of private label that we do for U.S. salon chains or for smaller chains in the U.S., or even we've done some private label for natural health products with some of the retailers in Canada. And that's been one way of kind of expanding the business. We did look at distributing, and we did distribute other brands for a very short while. But frankly, it's just that when you start to add on additional things, you start to lose your focus. And we just felt we've got a strong brand. There's some really strong core values there, and we've got customers who love that about our brand. So we've really doubled down on focusing on the Parissa and the Persian brands, and really trying to make sure that they're successful, not just at brick and mortar, but in the direct-to-consumer channel as well.
I want to touch on one part of the product, the natural. Can we describe it as a natural movement? I mean, it's been 40 years of experience with natural as a niche category versus a mass demand. Where does it sit today?
We did start in Vancouver, so natural.
You are anchored here.
Yeah, and ethical.
Yes.
Sustainability, clean beauty, whatever those tags or terms are today.
It's really influenced the DNA of the brand as I experience it.
It always had been, because it was part of the West Coast lifestyle.
Yeah.
Definitely it's changed over the years, but we're sticking to that core principle. And natural is an aspirational value. And by aspirational, of course, there's I want to be natural, or there's maybe a status or an image thing with that. But really, by aspirational, I mean, it's a future goal. It's a constantly evolving thing. And our hope is that we continue to move ahead on that. So whether that be, trying to use biodegradable materials, another thing that's been very important for us has been natural, much more of a sustainable and holistic way of producing things. So, we're in North Vancouver, one of the most expensive real estate in all of Canada, maybe all of North America. And we've got a manufacturing facility here. Well, that seems a bit ridiculous, but this was the community that we started in. This is the community that fostered our business. So it only made sense to try to build that business over here. We've done the same thing through purchasing ingredients or packaging. Oftentimes people will go, "Whoa, how come you're not getting your packaging from China?" It's like, well, because we've got great printers in Vancouver and locally. There's great people who produce, containers, whether it's in Canada or in the U.S. So that's how we've really tried to support the local economy as well. One of the biggest ingredients that we buy is sugar for our sugar products.
Sure.
And so like BC Sugar is a huge supplier for us. Yeah.
Let's talk about lessons for fellow entrepreneurs. Okay. Let's start with that, lessons on the ways to to work with retailers like Loblaw or Shoppers Drug Mart? I mean, I often ask, when I'm talking to retailers, I often ask them for advice to the vendors in the room and say, listen, there's table stakes and differentiators. You know, there's a group of vendors who will outperform other vendors. And what are those characteristics that I ask the retailer? What are the characteristics they're looking for? But what are the characteristics you would advise fellow entrepreneurs to have to do that kind of great business, not just average business, but really win and succeed with retailers like Loblaw and Shoppers Drug Mart?
I mean, when people oftentimes ask me that question, quite frankly, one of the first questions that I ask is, do you really want to scale?
Right.
Because
you got to be ready for it, right?
It's serious business.
Yes.
It's serious business. It's risky. It's big business. So I oftentimes tell people, hey, look, you really need to understand what retail is. We get an approach where people have brands or products and they don't even often have clarity about what category they would go into. And that's one of the unfortunate things. It does need to fit in neatly into a category. Like, where will people find your product?
And there's no big blank space on the shelf today.
Exactly.
So you're pretty much, somebody's got to come out, right? So you have to have a better product, a better story, or find a niche that isn't.
And you really need to be prepared. So you need to be prepared about, how am I going to supply? No supply chain, no business.
Right.
Like, there have been other lessons that we've learned where, we've worked very, very hard. I guess this is going back maybe close to 20 years ago. We worked very hard, got one of the largest U.S. mass retailers at the time. And, you're really super stoked about it. But, there's the cost of getting the product to store.
Load in versus sell through, right?
Exactly. And then when they're like, hey, pay on consignment, and then it's like, oh my God, we've got to promote, we've got to support the brand. And it's a lot. It's really, really a lot. So I would tell, whether it's founders or new people looking to get into this space, definitely get a good understanding of where those cost drivers are. How you need to do your pricing, make sure that your supply chain is tight. Like, you need to supply. And, let's pretend that the best thing could happen, which is your product goes on fire. And now you've got to supply. Your supplier can't supply you, or you can't supply the retailer. Guess what? You're going to be out.
Right.
And there's going to be somebody else who's ready to jump into that space. And so, you really do need to be prepared. And
you have to be ready for that. That's the part I think is most challenging, that I appreciate so much of entrepreneurs, is getting ready for that inflection point, right? Is like, if this product takes off, are we ready to respond? But you've got to invest ahead of that to be ready to respond. And boy, it's a real inflection point for the business often, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like, you really have to be, again, I would just say again, you need to be able to supply.
Right.
You also need to really understand the retailer's needs. Things like, even, how's the product packaged? How does it, transport? How quickly you can get it to market. Oftentimes people don't understand how quick lead times need to be. Oftentimes people have a difficult time conceptualizing how integrated the manufacturer or the brand owner needs to be with the retailer's operations. Those are critical to
lots
the
of communications. Would you say that can you over communicate with your retail partners?
Well, I would say one of the biggest challenges recently with even all of the communication channels that we've got is getting good communication with the retailers. Right. But having an understanding of their needs is very, very important.
Right.
Oftentimes people are like, oh, that vendor manual, they don't really read it, but it's like, there's a lot of insight in there. Or now everybody's got portals and newsletters. And oftentimes it's like, oh, that just comes into your inbox and people think, oh, this is just email marketing. And it's like, no, it's got some serious insights into their operations. So read those correspondences, read those vendor manuals. If you can, visit their operations, check out their warehouse, see how they receive your products. Like these are all things that are actually quite critical to success.
Wonderful advice. Let's last couple of questions. Let's
Sure.
talk about where this business is and what this business is going to look like 5 years from today. I mean, I know this year feels like what's this business going to look like in October, but
Yeah.
if you cast your mind forward to 5 years from today, how do you see the business?
Yeah. So, like he mentioned a couple of times, we're over 40 years in business. At our 40-year anniversary, I'd said, everybody sees the success picture. People don't realize that in 40 years, there's probably been 4 or 5 times that we thought we would go under.
Sure.
And certainly there's always really, really big challenges. So where would I like to see things in 5 years? I think most entrepreneurs, the first thing to the top of their mind would be that I hope in 5 years I am in business. Like that's a big one. But honestly, one of the biggest things for us and has been that the community that we support, the people that we support, a business's function is other than its profitability. And, my hope is that we can continue to grow in North Vancouver. My hope is that we can continue to provide employment opportunities for the people in our community. And in particular, even new immigrants.
I met a couple of new Canadians, right?
Yeah,
One from,
for sure.
What did you say? From Ukraine?
Yeah,
and
from Ukraine,
Iran.
from Romania,
Yep.
from Iran, from Panama, from Pakistan, from the Philippines. I mean, we've got people from all over the world here. People from all over Canada, from Moncton, as you know,
Right.
like yourself. But yeah, so, creating that opportunity both for newcomers, for young people, for our community. And I think actually it's quite important for Canadian business. And I think given a lot of the changes we've seen over the last year, it's really important to invest in your community. It's really important to invest in people. A business's job isn't just to generate profit. I mean, profit is super important because you won't be in business.
Sure.
I'd like to actually tie this to a learning or a story about when we first started. So like I mentioned, we would go to a lot of community markets in the early days trying to sell the product. And there's one that I remember where I think we were at the P&E, and it was my mom, myself, and my sister, and we had a little booth, and my mom's like, pitching the product, showing people how to use it. My sister and I are helping out as much as we can. And I think we're both like 10 or 11 at that time. And there was a cake stand right beside us. So after we finished the day's event, my mom had been working real hard. And after paying the booth off, there was very little money left. And she turns to the booth beside us and ends up buying a cake. And the gentleman says, "Oh, you're not a very smart businesswoman. You've spent your whole day's earnings here, which is not much, in buying a cake." And my mom's response was, "That's why I'm doing this business, is so that I can feed my family and so that we can enjoy things together. And it's important that whatever money that I earn, that other people can enjoy that as well in terms of buying your cake," for example.
It's a wonderful story.
And so I think that for both myself and for my sister, it's been really instrumental in the way that we've grown the business and hope to grow the business. So where would we like to be in 5 years? We'd like to be successful with successful people working here, where we've got a business that has been welcoming new Canadians, training young people, and giving opportunity to others. We've been really fortunate in Canada. We're really fortunate to be in this business. We've been fortunate to have partners like Loblaws, like Shoppers Drug Mart, like London Drugs, like a lot of retailers who've supported us along the way. And so it's really critical that we try to pay back and give back to both the community at large and to the country.
My last question, and I met
Sure.
your family, met your mom and your sister, and my last question was going to be, where do you get your energy from after doing this for 40 years, but I think I have a pretty good sense of where your energy comes from. But your enthusiasm for the business,
Yeah.
where do you pull that from? The community? You pull it from you still enjoy what you do for a living, basically.
Yeah, I would say that even in the struggle, and every day can be a struggle, the things that actually keep me energized, I know certainly keep my mom energized, keep my sister energized, and I would even say keep everybody in Parissa, the Parissa family, energized, is that we're working with others who care for each other. We've got it's not even a stated purpose of contributing back to the economy, back to Canada. But I think that really does keep things energized for everybody, including myself. I oftentimes tell people that, you know what, I need to be able to wake up in the morning and feel good about what I do. And I think if we've created an environment where other people can feel that way too, I think that just feeds into the energy. So again, very thankful and grateful for the way things have worked out. And hopefully they'll keep on going in a positive direction.
Well, I'm very grateful for the time you spent with me telling your story. It's a wonderful story to tell, and I'm happy to spend the time with you, Fardad. Thank you so much.
You're very
Congratulations on you and the business's success, and I wish you much, much continued success.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad that you got to see our operations.
Yeah.
And I hope anybody who's listening as well doesn't get discouraged by anything that I've talked about, but would feel encouraged about investing in themselves, in their product, in their brand, in their community, and in Canada at large. And it's so I'm so grateful actually for the Loblaw supplier program, small supplier program, because I think that's something that actually can help foster this type of environment.
Amazing. Once again, thanks for joining me on the feed, and continued success in 2026.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.